I know Sebastian well. Listen to him. He's with us.
Welcome back, dear friends. He was a professional counterintelligence individual for the U.S. Army and now runs the investigations for one of the most influential, important organizations out there, Judicial Watch. Support them today, judicialwatch.org, and he is the perfect person to ask about what we learned occurred at the CIA on Friday. He is Chris Farrell. Chris, welcome back to America First.
Great to be with you, Seb. Thanks.
So, the man in charge of the Russia investigation, John Durham, went to the CIA, where its former director, John Brennan, was interviewed by John Durham for 8 hours. What were the questions you would have asked if you were in the room?
Well, before asking him a single question, I would have Mirandized him.
So you would have made him a suspect?
Absolutely. I mean, that is really the key question. I had a colleague ask me today, was he a subject? Was he a suspect? Is he a target? What do those words mean? Are they different? And they are different. Depends upon what agency or department you're in. Everybody treats it a little differently. But the real key issue is, was he given a rights warning or was he Mirandized? Which is what you've seen on television a million times. So the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, blah, 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 blah. Everyone knows that. That frames up the nature of the interview.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton, infamously, was never Mirandized, no rights warning.
With regards to the emails.
Right, which tells you that was a coffee and donut session.
It's a snow job.
Here's the other thing. They conducted the interview where?
At the CIA.
What does that tell you? All right, so it's obviously not a custodial interview, right? He was not apprehended in any way, shape, or form. And they went to interview him on his old home court.
Where he was the director.
Correct. So he wasn't brought into the FBI to be interviewed. They traipsed across the river out to Langley to go onto his old home court and do the interview there. In my opinion, this does not bode well.
So, according to Brennan's spokesman, the interview was about his knowledge of certain intelligence operations, and he was informed, allegedly, according to the spokesman, that he was not a suspect, not a target of that interview. Correct?
That is our understanding. I mean,
which means what? This is just a chat for color.
They're treating him as a cooperating witness, right?
And as a result, what is the expectation? We've got 70 days left till we've got one person, a lawyer, Mr. Kleinsmith, who's
low-hanging fruit
that has pled guilty to forging a CIA document, changing the context, completely reversing it so as to be able to use that to justify a FISA warrant, a secret warrant to spy on Carter Page and others. So is this what you expect for the future, for the near future, that some low-hanging, some peons will plead out, or could this be the leverage points for something more?
Well, I'm not going to foreclose on any particular angle or opportunity because I don't have sufficient facts to draw a conclusion, right? There's indicators, there's sort of signs and portents out there. They're not good, to be blunt. Even Kleinsmith in his plea deal, there's a very good analysis done by Andrew McCarthy. He says that, even the plea wasn't really a plea. It was, at the time that I wrote it, I didn't think that I was lying, and even if I did, I didn't mean to. It's this really thinly sliced falsifying a record charge. Even that's kind of repulsive if you read the language of it.
Something which the CNN called an error.
Yeah.
What he did was an error.
Right. So, if he's a shortstop and he bumbles the ball before throwing to first, that's an error too. Anyway, so look, the Kleinsmith thing is weak. That they're talking to Brennan as a cooperating witness on his home turf, and there are no specific language or disclosures concerning whether he was Mirandized or not. This is all pretty weak tea. This is, and this all comes down to being a question of political will. And I can use the word guts, or I can use other anatomical phrases. Do you have them to act? Are you going to do something? And if you're not, stop jerking the American public around and just tell them, look, we don't have the guts or the spine or any other anatomical reference you want to have. Do you have it? Are you going to do something? Or is this more patty cake, little Mickey Mouse games that will leave the American public thoroughly frustrated and disgusted? And more largely, it'll be corrosive on the public's trust of the justice system.
Well, you've done more than anybody else. Judicial Watch, you, Tom, yourself, your colleagues have done more than anybody else to get at the truth with your FOIA requests, with your investigation. Does this mean that right now, in 2+ months away from the election, that you've lost faith in Barr and Durham?
I've got huge question marks. I'm not ready to say lost faith because I haven't seen their final whatever it is they're going to do. Look, talk's cheap, right? Actions speak louder than words. Our founding father, George Washington's motto, deeds, not words, acta non verba. So that's what'll be the key. But what I see over the last 2.5 years, and actually over the last 12 years, if you look at Benghazi and Hillary Clinton's email, is the Department of Justice, the Department of State, the Trump Justice Department, and the Trump Department of State fighting us tooth and nail in federal court.
Fighting Judicial Watch.
Correct. Refusing to release records and documents. They just recently, finally came around to admitting that Andrew McCabe's text messages on his U.S. government phone, on U.S. government time, communicating with other FBI agents, they're finally admitting that those are government records.
Wow.
Finally.
Incredible. Okay, so tell us what would be the moment at which you say, yes, it's deeds, not acts. The Attorney General, William Barr, has the requisite intestinal fortitude. Give me one name and give me a charge that would be the indication for you that, okay, this isn't powder cake and they're not just jerking America around.
Yeah, so Strzok indicted.
For? What's the charge?
It would be really abuse of his authority as a special agent. It's 18 U.S.C. 242, which is it's like an abuse of power under color of law. So it's this idea that you've exercised your executive authority in a way that is actually abusive, among other things. There could be false official statements. There could be violation of 12333, Section 209, which is undisclosed participation in U.S. organizations in the United States. I mean, there's a bevy of charges that could be done. But, I'm not even getting down to that level of detail. I just want to see indictments. And, the old line about, a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich if they want to, right? Take some action, please. And they can talk themselves into or out of anything. So if they sit around in the room making arguments with themselves, they'll end up saying, well, we'll never get a jury in D.C. to convict. Don't worry about that. Make your case.
Make the indictment. Deeds, not words. Attorney General Barr. He's Chris Farrell. He's with Judicial Watch. Support them right now. Judicialwatch.org, and on Twitter you can follow them at Judicial Watch. Do you remember that phrase? Hanging chads. I do. What a blast from the past. And it's all thanks to Judicial Watch. And there in studio, Chris Farrell. He runs their investigations, and he is the perfect man to ask in an age of 80 million mail-in ballots being sent out, allegedly, in the next 70 days. From your background as a counterintelligence professional, talk to us, if you will, Chris. Isn't this just a gift to our enemies?
Oh, it's a free-for-all. I mean, you can come up with unlimited mail-in ballots, right? There's multiple instances of people saying, Nevada's one place where it happened, there's a few others. You'd walk into an apartment complex, and at the foyer where the mailboxes are, or even down the hallways, stacked up all these ballots. It was freebies that were just mailed out en masse to everybody in this district. And so what precludes someone from going around scooping all those up, filling them out, sending them in? Or stockpiling them, and it's a close race, and it comes down to the cutoff time, and it looks like one candidate's ahead of the other. And how many votes do we need to win? Oh, we need 320? And then suddenly Frank pulls up in the van and goes, we found more boxes of ballots.
There's 400.
And there's 400, and guess what? The election flipped. And there was just a new election ordered in New Jersey for exactly that.
Paterson, New Jersey.
And so when the left is screaming about, oh, the president's trying to scare people about, voter fraud and mail-in ballot abuse, there's a very good reason he's doing that, because it's real.
But what about the idea that it's not just, a political party or an activist doing it, but when it comes to our enemies, our foreign enemies, isn't this just a godsend for them?
Enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yes.
I mean, there's all sorts of people who would love to generate mischief and confusion.
Right.
And
they don't even have to do it. They can just generate
Correct.
the expectation that it's happened.
Correct.
And then everybody goes, well, did we win or did we not win?
Yeah, it is disinformation, right? It is just planting the seed of doubt and confusion, and that's their goal. They don't even necessarily care who wins.
Just confusion.
Just maximize the controversy, have the public doubt the electoral process, have everybody turn in on each other and start attacking each other. No unity, no purpose, no goal, all internal, essentially civil war.
We had the president's attorney in studio, who also is senior legal advisor to the campaign. And Jenna said they are filing suit right now to stop governors doing this, to stop states discriminating, because you're discriminating against those who physically want to go and vote. In the meantime, what else is there that can be done? I tell people volunteer, become a poll watcher.
Absolutely.
But if this is about mail-in voting, what other defense mechanisms do we have in the last 70 days?
Well, the last 70 days is tough, right? Because that turns into a crisis mode. But right. I can tell you that just in the last year, we had a huge court victory in Los Angeles County where we have forced the removal of 1.5 million false names from the voting rolls. They're people that are dead or moved away, or they're felons. And we made them clean up their voter rolls.
So through legal action,
Correct.
You forced the state to do the work it should have done anyway.
Correct. And then, reluctantly, the voting rights section of the Civil Division of the Justice Department comes wandering in after the fact and goes, oh, yeah, Judicial Watch is right. I mean, what are they doing for a living, right? They should be bringing these, forcing people to have clean voter rolls. But they don't do it, so we do. And then they come along, like they also did the same thing in Kentucky.
Give you a pat on the back.
And they say, well, yeah, you're supposed to, the law says you're supposed to have clean voter rolls, so you really should do this. So, and look, we have a long experience on this. So, I've only been at Judicial Watch for 21 years. That's all. So back in 2000, my colleague Paul Orphanides and I filed 67 Florida Sunshine Act requests. That's like the state level open records
for every
law.
county.
For every county. So the fact that you know about dimpled ballots and butterfly ballots and the hanging Chad thing on that, all of that is because of Judicial Watch. Now, the rest of the world came running in behind us, and then you saw the imagery of people
Chris,
holding ballots up to the light.
It's the same with Hillary's
glasses.
emails, isn't it?
Correct.
You're the guys.
Correct. No one would even know it existed except that we did what we did.
Well, that's why you should support these people right now, judicialwatch.org. In the last 30 seconds we have, how worried are you that a week after the election, a month after the election, we don't have a winner?
I'm not worried about it. I'm virtually convinced. And the reason why is because the left already has a 22-page written document. It's called the Transition Integrity Project. Podesta is involved in it.
Yeah.
And they have a 22-page document, bullet points of what they're going to do. They ran 4, this is their words, war games. They ran 4 different scenarios. They have a plan to disrupt, cause maximum confusion, legal and non-legal means. The language in the document is loaded. It's Marxist-Leninist stuff.
It sounds...
They're ready to talk about the vanguard of the proletariat.
Right.
I mean, that's the kind of tone of the language.
It's a document that literally could have been written by a directorate of the old KGB or by an active measures unit of the Kremlin.
And they are talking themselves into violence.
We will discuss the Transition Integrity Project. But in the meantime, follow Judicial Watch, support this organization. Thank you, Chris. I'm Sebastian Gorka. This is America First.